Hello everyone, Zelrant here, and for today's video on Lost Sword, I thought we'd go ahead and talk about the Selectors and what may be your priority uses of them depending on the state of your account at this time. Because if you had followed my advice in the past, you know I advised most people to take your Selectors and kind of hold on to them and save them for at least seeing like the next one or two banners, because if someone like Tiamat, we now know is coming up next, was to show up, you will not have wasted them selecting on a unit coming up and can instead use it on a much higher priority. And so what I was guessing was going to happen fully happened, because there's a couple of units that I was saying if they show up, they're a really big unit to pull on, like Tiamat. You have Lancelot. We had Galahad as our tank showed up. I mean, right now we've been just getting non-stop of like the most important units to get. And so if you held on to your Selectors, you could potentially have 3 or even 4 at this point, depending on how well you saved them. Now, if you had a gap you really needed to fill, I know that the advice was, yeah, if you don't have like Galahad and you've gone through all your pulls and you're hard stuck, maybe that was the case in the beginning. But now that we know Tiamat's coming up, and if you had followed the advice and you kind of already had an established team, you should have, like I said, 2 to 3. Right now I have 2. But since it's a new month in the shop, it had reset if you had not looked yet. So in the exchange shop, the soul one did reset. Now I had bought another one with my souls to get this one. But I also have tons of currency here. And with Tiamat coming up, I will get plenty enough to once again pull, get this selector in this shop as well. So I will have 3 selectors I can use. And so this is going to give me a lot of options when it comes to utilizing for pulling, whether it's for new units or dupes of new units. And so I thought we kind of talk about priors. Now that we know we've had Neo Bedivere come out, we've had Galahad come out, and now we're about to have Tiamat come out. We pretty much have the core magic ranged team like all together right there. So now if you kind of look at mine, so we have these 3. These are like the 3, like to me, the must-haves. You can and then you have the free Guinevere we got that can be your sustain if you didn't get someone like Icewold there. And so you should have a solid, good team at this point. Plus, with all the pulls we've been getting, you probably have a mix of like Merlin. I mean, I've gotten pretty much everyone at this point. I've been stupidly lucky with my pulls. These are the only ones I'm missing. But even if you haven't been as lucky as I have on them, you probably have like an Aaron or a Merlin, Dion checked. Just some other units that you can kind of fit into this team at this point. And since the team is so solidified for most people, I think this is the time when actually the Selectors may be more valuable for getting missing cards for a majority of people. And so when it comes to priorities, I think there are some cards that are quite important. Now, since we already know Tiamat's coming up, we know her card's very important for her, but there's some other good ones that you may not know about that you might want to look at. And so I actually have, I have the tier list on cards, because I think the main priority for most people at this point is probably going to be cards, since you should have a solid team for pushing content at this point. With us already having DPS, tank, and healer, and a healer / DPS in the mix, you should already have all that. So let me switch that over here to the tier list. So taking a look at cards, there's quite a few cards that are extremely good, especially when it comes to pushing. And there's the one that I'm almost certainly going to be using my Selector on. Now, I'm holding off because if you're pulling on Tiamat, you could very well pull the unit. Like me, I'm going to go fully Awoken on Tiamat. So that is, at my point, I need, 7 pulls to do that. And I'm going to, of course, lose some of the 33% of the time you'll lose. And so I don't want to actually use it until I pull on Tiamat. But one of the big ones, I think this is huge. If you have not gotten 2 copies of CIRCE, Cirque, I don't know how to say the name. This card is crazy good. Now, this is one that I will certainly be using a Selector for to get. I have 1 copy of her, but I have not gotten a dupe for this card. But this is effectively, if you're like me, you're getting hard stuck because your team is dying. This is one that debuffs the enemy's attack. At max, it's 15%. That is a significant defensive upgrade, and you can throw that on your healer or any other kind of supports in that aspect. Top of the line, crazy card. So this would actually be, if you do not have this card, this would be my #1 priority for pretty much everybody at this point. That's why I'm going to get it. It's what I would probably say for everybody else, you should get it. You're already going to be able to have, for your Galahad, you already have the Holy Sword. That's the one from Ethan. That one is crazy good on her. You don't need to really upgrade it. So, and I mean, if you went crazy on Galahad, you may have her card as well. Her card's not as good as Ethan's. So you should have that one already covered at this point. And then depending on your luck on other ones, you might have a couple other good ones in there. You're going to get Tiamat's. This should be your number one priority after you get your first dupe on Tiamat, is to get her card. So you have your DPS and tank card pretty much covered. So now you're needing to look at your support and sustain defensive ones, because that is what's hard stopping. That's all the walls that I've run into have been because my people are dying, not because they're not doing enough damage. This one's the big one right there for that. And so this would be my number one priority for anybody, even if it takes 2. If you have no copies of her, and after you're done with Tiamat, go ahead and use 2 of your selectors to get this card right off the bat. Now, if you don't have that one, the next priority for me, and this is one I already have, so I won't actually need to pull for it because I've already gotten dupe of her. I really like Merlin's. And so this one is, it's a generic attack buff one. So this works for your healers. It can work on your damage dealer mages. Now, because if you have like a Merlin or someone, you're pairing your Merlin alongside Tiamat or that, this card can go right on her, buffs the attack, buffs the attack of all of your allies, which is all around good. Now, I believe this one, if I'm not mistaken, has crit rate. Let me just double check, because it doesn't actually say it here on the tier list. Yeah, hers is magic attack and magic crit chance. So this one is not, you're not going to want to use this one on your sustains, but it's a generic attack to everybody. So if you have Merlin, you can throw it on her. If you have any of the other mages, you can throw it on them. And it's going to the attack is going to benefit both your healers and your mages, as well as all the other attackers. While you have the other one, which is kind of a secondary, almost just as good, has kind of the same thing, except it gives all allies crit damage. So this is better all around for doing more damage. You're going to get more damage out of your Tiamat with this one, but healers can't take advantage of crit damage. So this one is not as good on this one on the sustain side. But when it comes to damage, especially once you really get your crit rate set up on your Tiamat and she has like that 80% plus crit rate, that one's going to be massive on damage. But I would put Merlin's over it. Like I said, everything has been about keeping your team alive versus doing damage when it comes to pushing the story. And that's the most important part right now, because if you can push farther in the story, you're going to level up quicker, which if you can level up quicker, you're going to do more damage. So I think being able to push story is more important than getting higher damage and then getting walled and not being able to make progress. But that would make the Vivian secondary to Merlin, in my opinion. And then you have the other one here, which if you're looking for the damage, is going to be Lilith. And this is one where it's reducing the crit resistance of the bosses up to 15%. It's effectively a 15% crit rate card. This would be another big one if you're looking for that offensive option there as well on the support. So that one kind of be, in my opinion, right after it. Now we have another one I think is really good. And like say, like I wouldn't want to invest 2 selectors on maybe any of these cards. It's really going to depend on what you have. And so if you don't even have a copy of Merlin, but maybe you have a copy of Vivian or something, that could be a potential option. But the other big one I think is really good, and especially if you did not get Neo Bedivere's card, which for me, I went all the way to Awoken and then somehow got lucky and got another copy of her card and have it. But before I got that extra copy, I found Elise's card crazy good for Neo Bedivere, because Neo Bedivere is one of the few sustains that can take advantage of crit damage since it's a life leech. And so this makes her attack more targets, and then it has, I believe, built-in crit rate, if I remember. Yeah, ranged attack, and then ranged crit chance. So this one, the Lisa's is crazy good on her, because it not only increases her sustain, as well as her damage overall. As we know, she's like a master of everything, jack of all trades, but she's really good at everything. She's not just general. And so this just knocks her out of the park on damage and being able to attack multiple enemies. So I would actually put Lisa's pretty high up on my list just because of how good it is on Neo Bedivere. If you have like one copy of Lisa, I would not put double pulls to get that one either. Like the only one that I would probably say use 2 selectors for here is Cirque. This is kind of just focusing on whatever you have that maybe you don't have the card because you get the first dupe. So we have those options. So we have that. Then we have, what was the other big one here? Lua's is really nice as well. After the remaining cooldown of active skill, takes it down to 0%. And so this one also has additional damage and crit damage. So this one's going to be good. If you're going in more of the, if you have like the shock team you're building around, Lua's card just in general is good if you already have one copy of her. And I find that one would be pretty good as well there. Then you have, if you already are sitting good on like all the cards I've mentioned here, you're already in good shape on even cards as well as units, because these cards all come from like your main units you need. You have your core team, and this is where I think the priorities kind of opens up a lot more depending on what you're wanting to do. And so since we know Tiamat is coming now, if you're looking at building your second team, that is now what you're wanting to start to think about. And that might deviate a little bit away from cards if you're sitting good on cards. And so the big one that I could potentially with future selectors, especially if she doesn't come up, would be like Lancelot. Lancelot is crazy good, but she needs high investment in dupes. And so she's just generically a good one to throw in if you have everything else settled. If you're really wanting to get, if you're wanting to really min-max the raids and the damage on that, another good one is, and this is one that you can already pull for, and because Anessa is going to be coming alongside Tiamat, so I wouldn't use your selectors on it. But Lingling Allure is really good for, say, Galahad, as that one has the melee attack, melee crit chance, and then you also buff all of your allies' damage. So when Galahad's not needing to heavily tank, but you're wanting her ranged buffs, this was a good one for her because it increases her damage and then also increases all of your allies' damage. It's not going to do anything for her tanking, though. Strictly a raid card, but a good pickup. But you will be able to pull for this one because she comes out alongside Tiamat. And I would actually advise everybody go ahead and get a copy of this card just for that reason. But other than that, I think it's just a lot more wide open. And if you're not needing any of that and you're already sitting pretty, I actually think you continue to hold on to them and wait to see what comes after Tiamat. Because, like I said, Lancelot, I think, is one of the best ones to invest in to get the dupes. But we've been just handed all of the ranged magic team, and that's what you can use to push story. And so that's just keep investing in that and hold on to the selectors until you truly need them. One of the big times you may need them in the future, if you hold on to them, will be a new unit comes out that is crazy broken, but you've dumped all your, I mean, you should have probably dumped all your pulls, T5ing Neo Bedivere. You should have dumped all your pulls in T5ing Galahad. And now Tiamat's coming out, and you should dump all your pulls trying to at least T5 her and get a copy of her card. I know if you've been unlucky, you might be struggling on pulls at this point. And that is where I say hold on to them for the future. If another broken unit comes out, maybe a very broken support that fits right into this team, you now can, oh, I ran out of pulls, but I really want to T5 them. And that's their banner. When their banner's up, you know they're not going to come back for a little bit. So if you don't have the pulls to go all the way to T5 and they're one that you want to T5, or you need extra to at least get their card, you have that selector right there to kind of cover your butt for that. And so I would say, if you have everything I kind of mentioned here, I think you're quite safe to just continue holding on to them. As much as it sucks, because realistically, I don't see anything else being game-changing enough to help you push farther past a wall than what I've kind of mentioned here. But that's just kind of my thoughts here at this point. I mean, they've been throwing pulls at us like crazy, and so you're going to keep being able to move. Now, the biggest thing is they throw a lot of standard pulls. So what everybody's accounts look like is kind of all over the place. So this is really just kind of some generic advice, because most of our polls at this point have been standard polls, except for Neo Bedivere, Galahad, and now soon to be Tiamat. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I just wanted to bring up. But yeah, if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.